Hey everyone, today I have the CRKT Pilar, and what a great little knife. It's one of my favorite pocket knives that I own. I was always curious about why people loved it so much, but as soon as I bought it, I found out why it's so popular. It's just a great little knife. It's actually got a really good weight due to the fact that it's all stainless steel, and for having just plastic bushing, it's got a really smooth action. It's got a thumb assist, or you can do the old Spidey flick. One of my favorite ways to open this knife. I can just do it all day. It's got a high fidgeting factor. It's one of the main reasons why I like this knife. I also like that you have the option to put tip up or tip down with the pocket clip. The overall design is just a beautiful knife, I think. And Voxness Designs, they nailed it on this one. And I know they have the larger version of this, but the smaller one caught my eye. I'm just more of a fan of smaller knives. Now, some of the things I don't like about this knife, because no knife is perfect. You can't meet everybody's needs, but for this knife, what I don't like is that there's no jimping on it. I prefer to have it so that when I choke up on the knife, again, my thumb doesn't slip. Because right now it's like butter. Another thing that I don't like is the cheap back spacer here. I'm not exactly sure what it's made out of. I believe it's aluminum, but it's a very soft material. Again, I'm not sure what it is because you can dent it pretty easily. The pocket clip space, whichever you decide to use, whichever one's open, I'm not a fan of. So I'm gonna try to get pretty creative with this area here and see what I can do with it. And also the ends of the scales aren't lined up. That's one thing that kind of bugs me. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so that's one of the things I actually noticed right away when I took it out of the package. But that is easily fixable. Now I'm going to go through what I will be customizing to this knife, because I'm sure that's what you guys are all waiting for. What I'll be doing to the Pilar is creating some jimping on the front here. Just on the blade though. I don't think I'm going to have to go here on the scales. The empty pocket clip space is definitely going to get a sort of a special little touch. Again, I'm going to try to get creative as I can. The ends are going to get fixed since they don't line up. And there is a feature I do like here on the lock bar. You got these 3 ridges here. So my plan is to kind of incorporate that design on the upper section of the knife scales. So I'll only be putting 3 on each side of the scales just to match with the knife. I'll be creating a new spacer since this material's really cheap and, well, I just don't like it, to be honest. So I'm probably 90% going to use copper. I might use some scrap brass that I have lying around, but we'll see. We'll see what I decide with. I'll have to surprise you guys. And then I will be etching the whole knife, but not too much. I want it to be a little bit darker, but not crazy dark. I don't want too deep of an etch because I still want to be able to read the name of the knife and the company name. And last but not least, after it is etched, I'm going to take the blade and I am going to give this upper flat part on the blade, I'm going to sand it down so that it's not etched. So I'll have a pretty neat contrast up there. And then once all that's done, I'll give it a complete stone wash finish and we'll see what it looks like when it's all done. Now that I explained what I'm going to be doing to this knife, I'll be taking it apart with my WIHA tool bits. I have the T6 and the T8 bits. So let's start taking it apart. That's another great thing about this knife, is that it's super simple to take apart, and the simplicity of the design is one of the major things I really like about this knife. And then here's that cheap little material. I did that with just another scrap piece of metal. Super easy to cut into. But again, I'll be changing that to either copper or brass. And now that it's all apart, we can start customizing. now that I have all the pieces customized, I'll give you just a quick walkthrough of what I did. So I created a new backspacer out of copper. I was gonna do brass, but it was fighting me, and I think I'm just gonna have to order just a slab of brass, and that way I can customize from there. Maybe on the next knife I'll do it, but for now I just decided to go with some copper. I was trying to create some arrows, and I accidentally slipped on one of them. So what I ended up doing was kind of doing the sculpted look. So it actually turned out to be arrows, but arrowheads. And then I polished the inner design with a deeper design on the side. And I'm just trying to touch the sides because if you can see, the oils from your hands really start to tarnish the copper. So I know eventually it'll get tarnished over time, but as of right now I just want it to be as pretty as I can have it. So that's the backspacer. I did some on the bottom too. I polished the inner ridges. I think it turned out pretty sweet. And for the blade, I did the stone wash. I did the etch and then the stone wash. You can see there the stone wash turned out really good. Unfortunately, I left it in just a little bit too long and the labels kind of vanished, so it's a little unfortunate. But for the next one, I'm sure I'll buy another Pilar because it's just a great knife. Maybe customize it differently. And then for the flat sections of the blade, I sanded it down smooth, and then I did kind of a cross hatching design on it just to be different. Thought it would be pretty cool, just good contrast. And then for the jimping, I also messed up on the jimping itself, so that's kind of how I stumbled upon the sculpted look. I've always liked that look anyway, especially on the G10 handles, any handle really, but I figured I'll just try it on the jimping, and it turned out pretty well. I really like it actually. Let me know what you guys think of it. And again, stone washed everything, and then also the last piece, since it's tip up or tip down, since I don't like the tip down, I actually just did a little skull out of copper. So I put some teeth in there and the eyeballs, and then once it tarnishes, the eyes will darken, and it'll look pretty cool. But as of right now, I think it's pretty neat. And I also did the clip here. This one still has the branding on it, so I'm happy with that. And the stone wash came out really good on this too. And the last parts that I just kind of touched up were the hardware pieces. They were kind of glossy, so I just kind of gave them a little 220 grit. Got my WIHA tool bits, and in the beginning of the video I said it takes a T8, but it actually takes a T9 bit for the main pivot screw, so my apologies on that. Alright, let's start putting this thing together because I'm curious to see what it looks like. Alright, there it is, all put together. Came out pretty cool looking. I like the contrast on the blade with the etching and the copper, the little copper skull there. Backspacer turned out really good. I'm happy with it. The light hits it almost like jewelry. And again, it reminds me of arrowheads, so that's pretty cool that it came out that way. And then also the inside of it, it's a nice sparkle to it. The etching came out pretty well. Happy with it. Again, fortunately I went a little too dark so you can't see the labeling on the blade, but that's fine. If people know their knives, they'll know it's a Pilar. Still functions well. Still spidey flick it, so I'll be able to fidget with this thing all day long. And this is what it looks like closed. Again, that contrast is really cool. The jimping, again, that's for an accident. I think it turned out pretty well. You can't learn without messing up a few times. So just let me know down in the comments of what you guys think of the knife, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way I can keep bringing you guys these videos of my knives. And again, thank you for watching.